As we all know, Dalton Knecht had a rather rough end to last season, falling out of their late season rotation, not even being a part of their playoff rotation, and then having a pretty rough summer league with their team too. Averaging only about 12 points per game on some pretty poor efficiency, only 32% from the field and 24% from 3. And now with the additions of Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, and even Adu Thero, while the Lakers have kept Gabe Vincent, at least temporarily, also having kept Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, it's looking pretty tough for Dalton Knecht at this point. Not only that, but even his trade value is taking a hit. According to Jovan Buha, he's no longer worth a first-round draft pick according to reports, and that's a change from last season obviously being taken with the first-round draft pick, the Lakers selecting him 17th overall in the 2024 NBA draft. Reports saying at one time that he was worth a late first-round draft pick, but that's no longer the case. So with all of that in mind here, what decision will that lead to the Lakers making with Dalton Knecht? Will they trade him? Will they keep him? If they do keep him, will he be a part of the rotation? Or even close to the role that he played for their team last season? We'll talk about all of that and try to come to the best decision with Dalton Knecht and maybe what the Lakers should do with him. And well, to begin, I know Dalton Knecht had a rough end to last season, also had a pretty rough summer league, but he really did not have a bad rookie year in my opinion. In fact, I actually thought it was a pretty good one. I mean, a rookie playing 78 out of a possible 82 games for their team, he only really missed 1 due to injury, 2 from falling out of the rotation, 1 from simply mental recovery after being traded and that trade being rescinded, and even throughout all of that put up roughly 9 points per game in 19 minutes per game, that translating to nearly 17 of them per 36 minutes, averaging about 3 rebounds per game, shooting a very impressive 37.6% from 3, while attempting 4.4 per game, that translating to over 8 of them per 36 minutes. That's incredibly high volume and pretty efficient shooting for a rookie. Even was part of their starting lineup for some time, not only a 1 to 2 game sample, but actually 16 games in their starting lineup. Throughout that time frame, averaging nearly 17 points per game on 39.5% 3-point shooting, being one of their best offensive players throughout that 16-game stretch, showing plenty of potential, showing plenty of off-ball gravity, and definitely an offensive threat. That could potentially be his role in the future, being a Kyle Korver kind of guy, a maybe Klay Thompson-esque, not quite to that level, but he showed that during his rookie year, and that's something that many rookies don't even come close to. However, while there are plenty of good moments and actually some pretty decent stretches with Dalton Knecht, I'd be lying to you if I said that there weren't any bad moments or rookie struggles with Dalton Knecht, as there definitely were, especially on defense. You know, this was and continues to be the one downfall of Dalton Knecht, isn't a very good and even worse, not a very committed defender. And even on top of that, it's so unfortunate because he has the athletic ability to become one, is actually a very good and underrated athlete in my opinion. I mean, I'm pretty sure the guy had a 38 or 39 inch vertical at the draft combine, showed plenty of athletic ability last season, being a very good backdoor cutter and even a pretty good finisher around the rim, but he simply doesn't use it on defense that much. Again, he had good moments here even on defense, taking on some tough matchups here and there, especially prior to the Lakers trading for Dorian Finney-Smith and Knecht being a bigger part of the rotation. He had some good moments, but overall was not very good on defense. I mean, looking at the advanced stats on defense with Dalton Knecht, not really good no matter where you look. Defensive BPM having a negative 1.7 rating, which really took away from his offense and overall value on the court. Per defensive EPM rating, also being very bad and actually a bottom 10 defender in the entire league per defensive EPM. No matter where you look, it wasn't good and it was pretty obvious from the eye test too. Again, that's definitely the one major thing that he does need to show improvement on. And with him currently on the outside looking in with the rotation, at best being their 9th or 10th man and probably getting about 10 to 15 minutes per game, if he wants to be more than that and become more than that either this season or going forward with their team, or any other team for that fact, he's got to improve his defense. And well, like I said, he currently is on the outside looking in. Whether you want to put him as their 9th man ahead of Gabe Vincent, or as their 10th man behind Gabe Vincent, that's probably about as far as you can go with Dalton Knecht. I mean, you're probably not going to put him above Jake LaRavia, Marcus Smart, Jared Vanderbilt. I mean, maybe you can argue that one, but I personally wouldn't go that route. And then obviously you can't play ahead of Jackson Hayes, so kind of their 9th, 10th, maybe 11th man in the rotation, which obviously doesn't translate to much playing time and therefore not much on-court value. So with that in mind here, is it the better move to trade Dalton Knecht, maybe get somebody that fits a need for their team a bit better than Dalton Knecht, which in my opinion would be a 3-and-D wing. Is it worth it to trade him at a pretty low trade value, potentially his lowest trade value, at least up until this point? You know, that's definitely up for debate here. I wouldn't be entirely opposed to it if you find the right trade and obviously the best fit if you're going to trade Dalton Knecht, but I'm also not entirely for it. Like I said, it is a pretty low trade value standpoint for Dalton Knecht. You know, if it really is a lesser than a first round draft pick value for him at this point, I'm not sure if that's entirely the case here and if that report's entirely true, but it's obviously not the highest trade value point for Dalton Knecht. You know, I know we never like to trade players when they're playing well and at their higher trade value, but that's sometimes the best time to trade them. And well, with Dalton Knecht, they probably couldn't get that much for him. Between both the trade value and then his current salary, only making about $4 million next season, you're not going to get much with Dalton Knecht alone through a trade. At that point, you're looking at combining him with another player, whether it's simply a salary filler like Maxi Kleber or Gabe Vincent, or combining him with a Rui Hachimura. That's probably more like what you'd have to do here through a trade, not simply trading Dalton Knecht and hoping for an immediate upgrade and providing the best fit possible on their team, addressing the best fit possible. That's probably not going to happen. So kind of combining that with his trade value, with what he currently is offering their team or might be able to offer, I would probably lean toward keeping him rather than trading him at this point. Again, I'm not entirely opposed to it. If they find the right trade and if they find the right trade partner with him, then I wouldn't be entirely opposed to it and definitely would be open to it. But I'd rather rebuild his trade value, as again he did show some upside last season, did show plenty of potential, and if he can finally become better on defense, even to an average or slightly below average kind of point, then he definitely can offer their team quite a bit of value. You know, we often talk about defense, and rightfully so, but following the additions of Marcus Smart, DeAndre Ayton, Adu Thero, and even Jake LaRavia, there's not a whole ton of reliable 3-point shooting there. I mean, I'd like to think they will get it with Jake LaRavia, coming off a season or rather career best 42.3% from beyond the arc, but up until this point had never shot above 35%. And then with Marcus Smart being a sub 33% career 3-point shooter, Ayton being a non 3-point shooter, Adu Thero not being a great 3-point shooting option, and then with guys like Jared Vanderbilt not being a good 3-point shooter, Hayes being a non 3-point shooter, Gabe Vincent being an average at best 3-point shooter, they don't have much 3-point shooting in their rotation. Now yes, they obviously have it with Luka Doncic, LeBron James, Hachimura, and Austin Reeves, but just having those four as good to above average 3-point shooters, that might not be enough, especially with all three of LeBron, Luka, and Austin kind of drawing attention away from guys. At that point, you want the other rotation players to be good, reliable 3-point shooting options, at least decent catch-and-shoot players, and they don't have very many of them at this point. And not even that, but not having a good, reliable off-ball threat, a guy that legitimately attracts and demands attention off the ball, that's what Dalton Knecht can do, so purely from that argument and purely from that skill set, there is some value by keeping Dalton Knecht. Purely from that skill set and the ability to demand attention no matter who you're playing against or who's trying to defend him, there is value with Dalton Knecht as no other player on their team, let alone their current rotation, can offer what he can offer offensively. Now, will that be enough to prevent him from being traded or making him a mainstay in the rotation? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not entirely sure I can fully answer that, but I think it does give him value, at least in certain matchups and at times in the rotation, when other guys aren't playing that well or the 3-point shots aren't falling. There is definite value here with Dalton Knecht, both in the short term and obviously the long term with him. And you know, if they would make a trade that doesn't involve Dalton Knecht, trading any combination of Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, or Rui Hachimura, that would indirectly open up a spot for Dalton Knecht in the rotation. I mean, depending on who they would trade for, obviously if it's not a shooting guard or kind of a wing player like Dalton Knecht, then maybe that could lead to him getting back in the rotation, getting more consistent playing time in the rotation, and them not having to trade Dalton Knecht. Which again, I don't think is a for sure thing to happen. I think it's more likely to happen at this point compared to the pre-trade deadline last season, but also I wouldn't say it's a thing they have to do. No, he doesn't have the best pathway to playing time in the rotation, with Redick running in 9-man rotation or 10-man rotation often, Dalton Knecht maybe being that 10th or 11th man. You know, maybe not the most consistent playing time or pathway to it, but they absolutely don't have to trade him either, especially not with his rather low trade value according to reports. But with all of that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the outlook of Dalton Knecht on the Lakers team? Should he or will he be traded off their team? Should they keep him, and if they do, what do you think is his current rotation spot and his pathway to playing time with their team, if there is one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that will pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.